Hello. Hey, I'm Łukasz. Welcome to our Core SIG meeting. Yet another one, hard to say which one in a row, but we will not stop with this one for sure. I'm your moderator today. I'm replacing one of our guys from the SIG because he's attending quite important workshops. And I'm supported by Mateusz, who had a dentist visit today, so he cannot say too much, but at least he can type with his fingers. So thank you, Mateusz, for your help and support. And before we start with the agenda, I see that John Barrow joined the meeting, so congrats, man, for a Liverpool game yesterday. I know you're a fan. It was awesome.
Yes, thank you. I'm still still on the floor, to be honest.
I can imagine. And now, yeah, the boring stuff. So the first things first, in the agenda is question feedback. So before we jump into the topics that we want to share, maybe you already have something that you would like to ask us about, and then just jump out from the meeting. That's good.
I had, one quick question. I just wanted to understand how complete is the Knative integration with this, with the latest release, and what are the short-term plans for that?
Okay, sure. So the latest release depends which one you mean. So you mean 1.0 or 1.1?
1.1.
Okay, so 1.1 it's coming out next week, and with 1.1 I'm not able to give you a precise reply, but I can point you to release notes that are being prepared. And they are publicly, there's a public PR opened for the release notes, so you can see what's changing in 1.1. So I'm gonna send you a link to a chat window if I know how to do that. Okay, you should be able to get the link. So you can see the release notes. So I'm not 100% sure what's changing. For sure, we are upgrading to the latest Knative eventing. And for sure, there are no changes in the Knative if it comes to the serverless integration. But you're probably the most interested with the serverless because we still are using kubeless as a engine for serverless. We did not switch to Knative yet because we lost several weeks. We are the most focused on releasing 1.0. So we didn't want to introduce such a huge change like a change of the serverless engine. There were many other important topics to do. But as far as I know, I should probably not make any preview of what's gonna come in 1.2 release scope. But I know from the Slack channel, this public Slack channel, that Johannes, that is owning the serverless topic, he wants to now work with for 1.2 release on a CRD for functions that is using Knative. But more details will come once we finalize the scope that we will announce next week. But sure, from the eventing point of view, it's we are already using Knative eventing. It's not hidden behind the feature flag. And as a channel, we use nuts as it was before.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Okay, let me go back to the agenda. Anyone, any questions? You can also ask them later if you want. So let me just jump to another topic. So yeah, going back again to the discussion about the release. So just a quick heads up for you. When we communicated the scope of 1.1 release, we stated that the release will happen on 13th, Monday next week. We already know that we will have 2 days delay, so expect release. Of course, release candidate will be ready upfront on Monday, but the final release we commit to have it on Wednesday, 15th. So unfortunately, no release on my birthday. Next topic, quite important. So we will not have a Core SIG meeting in 2 weeks. We're going to cancel it because majority of, actually all chairs from the Core SIG, we're all going to KubeCon Barcelona. And we're not the only ones. There are many other product owners going and developers. And of course, the Core SIG should happen during the KubeCon. So we will cancel it because you can imagine that we want to meet with our users directly at KubeCon and not do it through Zoom. But of course, if you see that there are some important topics that we should discuss, you would like to discuss with us, then we can do some ad hoc core meeting next week or or a week following after the KubeCon. But the most important is we're not moving the meeting, we're simply canceling it. And the next one is going to be 2 weeks after KubeCon. And the other stuff about KubeCon, interesting, is that there are many owners of different Kyma capabilities going, from like Jake from serverless, Gaurav from eventing, even I'm going. And there are also awesome engineers going with us, like Mateusz that is taking notes, that is now rewriting service catalog to use custom resources. Or Pavel Kosiec, that is a brain behind the GraphQL layer that we have in Kyma. So in case you have some branch or entire company based in Barcelona, you have people that you would like to interest with Kyma and you think they would like to see us on some lunch talk on Monday before KubeCon, on Friday after KubeCon, just contact us. I'm sure we can organize something. So that's it if it comes to KubeCon. And next topic from our agenda, we want to do 2 features preview for you. Both of them is going to be done by me. One of the features, it's headless CMS. And that's a component, that's a functionality that is available already with 1.0 release. We just did some few bug fixes for this release. So the whole functionality that I'm going to show to you is already is going to be for sure available with 1.1. And the other feature I'm going to show you is a add-on view in the console UI that is tightly connected with our Helm Broker component. It's something that will be released with 1.1. And the preview of those features, I'm gonna perform the preview on so the disclaimer is I'm gonna do it on my local host. But don't be, you should not be worried, because as you know, in Kyma, we value cluster installation equally to local installation to have seamless development process in place as well on your local machines. So I'm gonna have everything, of course, on my opened on my local, but on latest master, so whatever I'm showing is already going to be in the release. And yeah, I guess that's it if it comes to the disclaimers. So let me jump to the first topic. So headless CMS. So of course, you need to have some background to the topic, what headless CMS is. So it's a CMS that enables you to provide content independently from the presentation layer, which basically means that you can provide content independently and then consume it in any application through the API. So it's pretty known concept. If you know Contentful, pretty known startup, then that should be somehow more understandable if my quick intro is not meaning anything for you. That's really important component in Kyma that we released with 1.0 because there are many other components in Kyma depending on it. So it's a service catalog and Helm Broker that is using headless CMS to provide documentation for services which are shared through the service catalog. Application connector that you probably also know, that is used to expose external applications inside the Kyma cluster. and yeah, application connector during the registration also uses headless CMS to save all the specifications and documentations for the applications. And last but not least is our, of course, console UI, where we consume through the API this content in the context of the service catalog and also in our standalone documentation UI. So that's if it comes to the dependencies. The architecture is the most interesting, I think, because this headless CMS component is, I would say, Kubernetes native. It's based on custom resources. In the backend, we're using another component of ours, which is asset store. I will not spend any time on explaining what asset store is. I can just tell you that at the end, it's a kind of file storage based on Nino. The most important is the headless CMS that brings two different custom resources, docs topic and cluster docs topic, in which you can specify several different sources of documentation for one specific documentation topic. You can imagine, in case of application connected through the application connector, the application would be, for example, Slack. Then you can imagine that such a doc topic contains references to different sources, like different location of the Open API spec, different location of Markdown files describing the application, and also different location of async API spec describing the event API of Slack. So that's if it comes quickly to the architecture, but it's probably interesting for you, like why we did it. So we wanted to have exactly the same way of working with the content like we do with the application that the content describes. So in other words, we wanted to be able to provide a description of the deployment together with the documentation in the same way with just one single kubectl apply. So in other words, explaining what was the motivation to do this component and work on it. And that's a core SIG. So let me just now really jump into the quick demo and not talk about just theory. So quick walkthrough where the headless CMS is consumed. As I mentioned, it's a service catalog. So all the services exposed into the Kyma, whenever they provide some documentation, this documentation comes from the headless CMS. And also the other part I mentioned is the standalone documentation UI that you can also see in the console, which is hidden behind the question mark icon. You can see the whole documentation for Kyma inside console for a given version of the console. And here at the bottom, you can already see that right before this quick demo, I modified the view a bit. I added additional topic to the to headless CMS, which is the Istio documentation that I could basically take the official Istio Markdown files and add them inside Kyma and embed them in this documentation UI. But yeah, let me quickly show you how I did it. So short break so I can share a terminal. Can you tell me if you can see this awesome red background? No, you can't see my terminal?
Still not. We can see only the small terminal, but without your background.
Yeah. I mean, the background of the terminal, the red background of the terminal.
Yeah, still I can see it.
You can't see it?
Nope, I can't.
No, me neither. It looks like it's just, I don't know, 50 pixel high, the screen share. Looks
Exactly.
weird. Something's wrong.
Oh, interesting. Let me try again. How
Oh,
about now?
Yeah, now
Yep.
it works.
Okay, interesting. Cool. Then let me quickly copy paste a code snippet that I prepared. So what I will do, I will quickly extend the view, documentation view with 2 additional topics that I want to group as a documentation for Prometheus. So just give me a second to do the copy paste. Okay, so we can see here that I'm going to apply to Kubernetes 2 different resources, cluster topics, docs topics, which are called Prometheus docs. And the most important is that they are pointing to a source, which is in this case Markdown source. And the location is, as you can see, it's a GitHub location of official Prometheus documentation that they also provide in Markdown. I simply just filter out a proper folder with the Markdown files that I want to have visible in the UI. I want to have them in my headless CMS. And the other CR, that's also a Markdown content, again, Prometheus one, but it's taken from the guides directory. So at the end, what I expect to have in the UI, I'm going to have a left navigation, I'm going to see Prometheus. And below that, I'm going to see 2 separate docs topics. One is going to be called concepts and the other one guides. Okay, so 2 CRs got created. Now let me copy another one. Now I can see the status of loading the content into the CMS. So I just did kubectl get cluster docs topics, and you can see that there are already many different topics created because as I said, the whole documentation that is in the standalone documentation UI is loaded through the custom resource. And you can see the 2 new resources, Prometheus concepts and Prometheus guides, which are still pending. And I can tell you in the meantime, while they're pending, I can tell you how do I actually know what's created under the hood, and how do I know if everything works fine, and how come we know what is the exact location of the files after the resource changes the state to ready. So what I do now, as I mentioned at the beginning, at the end, cluster docs topics, they are reflected as as resources in our dependency called asset store. In this case, in case of these examples, it's cluster asset. And I know what cluster asset was created for my specific topic. In this case, it's Istio security. Because we create this reference in the asset resources. So I can quickly get details of such a resource. And you can see that in the status of this particular resource that was created for this cluster doc topic, I can see that everything works fine because I already see a base URL to the bucket and the folder with the content, and all the files that were taken from a given source and uploaded to this given folder. And as you can see, we can even parse a specific metadata from those files and then keep them in the status. So let me check again the cluster docs topics. You can see Prometheus concept and guides there are already in ready state. So when I go here back to the standalone UI, let me refresh. And at the bottom, you can see a new section
See
called...
Sorry, you still see your terminal.
Ah, yeah, of course, because I didn't switch. Sorry. How about now?
Yep, it's good.
Okay, perfect. So you could not see the refresh operation, but as you can see, after I did the refresh in the UI, I got a new section called Prometheus and guides and concept, as I mentioned what I expected before, and all the documents that were in a given source package with the Markdown files. And the istio that I created before, it's also here. So it's pretty easy to really build documentation. But of course, one disclaimer, I'm just showing it basing on Istio and Prometheus example. You need to be aware of one quite a big issue in Markdown community these days. At the end, not sure how much familiar with Markdown you are, but it's really simple syntax. And at some point of time, people always want to customize it and add some features into it, and they're always done without following any guidelines, because there are no guidelines. So you can see that such an Istio documentation, for example, the images are not rendered properly because they simply have some customizations in their Markdown, added some kind of curly brackets around the image tags and created their own custom image tags, which is of course not understandable in our UI. But of course, the headless CMS supports a way, the asset store supports a way of adding custom parsers, let's say, of the content. So you can even modify it, work through the Markdown files and remove, for example, the content that is not nice. Not everything is out of the box supported and well documented, but that's technically possible. And if you would like to use it and play with it, then there are some guidelines that we follow to provide our documentation in this view, that you can check on how we do linking, how we do panels, and etc. And also some examples of the Markdown files. So at the end, they're pretty simple doc files with some additional metadata that we interpret to build the navigation. So that's how the headless CMS works. You can play with it, and especially, yes, please play with it and give us feedback, because there are totally mixing different ideas in our heads how to go forward, especially with Docs UI, if we maybe should make it available for you in the way that you can build your own standalone documentation page like this one. So yeah, that's one of the features. Any questions? Okay, that's good. Next topic. Let me go back to the agenda. Next topic is the add-on view in console UI. It's also me that is showing that. Yeah, before I talk about add-ons view, I need to give you some background, because add-ons view is really closely connected with the Helm broker. So yeah, Helm broker is our service broker, which is compliant with Open Service Broker specification, to be able to expose the services in the service catalog. And it enables you to expose in the service catalog services provided in a Helm charts. And this it's possible thanks to our concept of bundles. So you can pack those charts in bundles that are descriptions for the catalog, so he knows what services are available in what plans, etc., etc. And we treat this Helm broker as a solution to provide add-ons that you can share among Kyma users and make them visible in the service catalog. So you can share some extensibility features, examples whatsoever, and different things. Good idea should be, if you know already Kyma and you know the service catalog, you probably saw already Oh, let me log in back. You saw probably already in the catalog some classes whenever you start Kyma. So such classes like Azure Service Broker or Google Cloud Service Broker, they're all provided thanks to the Helm Broker. And that's what we call add-ons. Next thing, what you should also know is that with one release, we made it possible that you can configure Helm Broker real-time. And by configuration, I mean that you can configure different location of such repositories that hold bundles. So those services that are exposed in the catalog. And again, the best if I just show you the example of such a repository. So you can see there's a, this is an example that is officially published by us. It's not an example, it's actually official bundle repository that is sharing Redis service and Google Cloud Service Broker and the Azure Service Broker. So at the end, you can configure Helm to fetch those informations, those bundles from several different repositories. So not only the official repo that we have when you get Kyma, but you can provide your own repos with your own bundles. And that's why we work on the UI, so you can, let's say, cluster, Kyma cluster operator, you have one unified UI when you can see the list of all the configured repositories, so you know exactly what is registered and available for your users in Kyma in the service catalog. So this view, as you can see, that's at the end list of the configurations with the repository URLs. The default one is that I already mentioned to you. So the one that brings those three services like Redis or the Azure Service Broker. And now I can show you the location where it's taken from. At the end, it's any HTTP server, HTTPS server. But here you can see how we solved it for our Kyma bundles. So we simply release them and make them available through the release feature in GitHub. That's the one that is registered now by default with every Kyma installation, and you should never remove it from the configuration. But I can show you how I can register additional bundle repo. I can tell you that this one consists of just one bundle. It's called test bundle, test service, and I can show you how I do it. And under the hood, it works with config maps at the moment. So yeah, let me just start doing the configuration. So as you can see, I'm pointing to the HTTPS server that is holding the the index of all the bundles available under given URL. I can add multiple repos, but in this case, I just add one. As you can see, the whole view is based on WebSockets, so the feedback is pretty quick. All works fine. Let me now go to the catalog. Before I showed you 3 services were available in the catalog. Now there should be 4. Okay, so we can see this testing bundle, and the showcase bundle is quickly available through just simple configuration. These are all the add-ons that I have currently configured. You can see now that the catalog view got kind of split between 2 different services that you can get in the catalog. So the add-ons coming from the service broker and the services coming from any other third-party service provider. So in case, for example, if I would provision Azure Service Broker, so I would register at the end additional service broker in Kyma that would provide services from Azure, they would be visible in the services. So we have clear separation between things that are coming from the Helm broker, and other service brokers. And that's it if it comes to the add-on view. Any questions to this one? Just additional note for you, Chris. So that's the way, for example, how we want to in the future share examples. So at the end, we provide a bundle of a repository with bundle of different examples. So we can share them between different Kyma instances easily. Anybody can provision them quickly, so he doesn't have to go through the example and do kubectl apply. kubectl apply several times, but you just install everything with just
yeah. Yeah, looks very promising. Really, it's really cool.
Okay, so that's it if it comes to the second preview. Next thing on our agenda, if there are no questions, let's go to the ZenHub link to see our board. Let's make sure I have pull request open. Yeah. Okay, so we can see that we don't have anything really in the pipeline. There are just two things to accept. One is the proposal to improve the development process that is already improved by several people. I think it's even already merged. So we just need to check why it's still into the to accept. That's probably waiting for pickup from some product owner, right, Mateusz? It's probably waiting for final approval from PK.
Exactly, it needs to be finally approved by PK and also by Ahmed, because there was small discussion about it on our production SIG, so it's still
Okay.
a little bit under discussion.
Okay, cool. And the other proposal, it's a pull request that it's hanging for some time already. I guess it's because we're all a bit afraid of what it brings, what changes it brings in the structure of the repos. Nevertheless, all those both PRs touch really important topic, which is pain for us, which is releasing of Kyma. It's not really easy. We want to solve it. So as you can see, so far we have two different proposals, and I think that at the end we're going to have some additional discussion to finally pick one solution, which is one maybe changing the structure of the repos, or changing the way we perceive Kyma at the end. If Kyma is just Kyma, or Kyma is just a set of Helm charts, and it consists of different components, which are having separate repos with code. But yeah, that's coming in next meetings, I guess. So yeah, the last item, questions and feedback. Again, do you have any additional questions you'd like to ask, or any feedback? Three, two, one. Okay, so thanks a lot. It was a pleasure to have you here. Thanks a lot for joining. And whoever will join KubeCon, see you at KubeCon. Unfortunately, Chris, I don't think you're joining, but...
No, but my colleagues, some of my colleagues are, so you definitely will see that Conway folks around.
Okay, and definitely we have to have at least one beer together, so yeah. Cool.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for the demo.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. You are still recording.
Yes, and I'm still sharing, and I'm wondering how to first stop sharing. Okay, maybe I will just stop recording and stop the meeting without stopping sharing. Dzięki, Mateusz. Cheers.
Thank you.